tarnished or not, the Washington Nationals would love to have a banner to hang of any sort, but we know they're not going to do that here this season after taking that loss to the Chicago Cubs in Game 5 of the NLDS. Let's move to Major League Baseball, or just sports cities in general. Is Washington the new Cleveland? Because if you look beyond just the Nats' struggles in recent years, you can look at the hockey team, the Washington Capitals. How many times have they had the best point total in the regular season, but bow out early, usually at the hands of the Pittsburgh Penguins, in the Stanley Cup playoffs? The last time Washington, D.C. celebrated a sports championship of any kind, you got to look at that football team winning the Super Bowl back in 1991. Dylan, I ask again, is D.C. now the new Cleveland, the most tortured sports city in America?
I think it might be. If not, it's right there on par. Now, it's not like just one championship from the Cleveland Cavaliers completely wipes away all the pain and heartache of the miserable Browns. Not only the Browns sucking, but getting ripped out from the fans, moving, and obviously the Tribe. They've come so close. We know all about Cleveland, but Cleveland tends to magnetically take every sports fans out there. We just say, oh, Cleveland, oh, poor Cleveland,
yeah.
Poor bastards in Cleveland, man, they got it rough. But when you look at this, the Caps have been incredibly underachieving when we think big picture, how good a teams they've had, especially really recently.
Yeah.
Arguably the best player in the league, certainly the most explosive offensive player in the league, especially when Braden Holtby really emerged as one of the best goaltenders in the league. And they can't even get to an Eastern Conference Finals, Tyler. If they can get out of the first round, it seems to be a big accomplishment for this Caps team. And yet they've won the President's Trophy a couple of years ago. So, obviously I do think that D.C. across the board, the Bullets/Wizards have not been relevant at all. I know they have that title back in the late 70s, but for most of our lifetimes, our entire sports watching lifetime, the Bullets and Wizards have been the butt of an NBA joke.
Sure.
And I think with Dan Snyder, and you look at their NFL team as well, I think there's been a lot. It hasn't been as much a laughing matter as maybe, the Browns, but we look at them as they're never going to get it done, especially with Snyder there. He's never going to pull the right strings and make this team a winning team. But specifically the Nats, man. I mean, we talked about this earlier. Is it worse to just suck? Or is it worse to be really good and come close and feel like we're actually good this year?
I understand the question.
We're running away with the NL East. We can't get out of the first.
It's like if you have money on a game, you want to get blown out. So
Yeah.
instead of suffering a
I
bad
don't wanna
beat.
get backdoored.
And it feels like Nationals fans are suffering bad beat after bad beat after bad beat each and every year. And that was a pretty bad beat in Game 5 of the NLDS when you consider all the craziness that had to conspire to allow the Cubs to win that game. Credit the Cubs, no doubt about it. They took advantage of the opportunities.
Swallowing
but
the
it was
Lobaton play. I mean, if you're a Nats fan, they, by the letter of the law, they probably got that call right. But that is a tough pill to swallow if you're a Nats fan.
Right.
His foot came this much off the bag, and Rizzo probably, we think, held the tag on him. And that's why we're out, and Trey Turner does not get a chance to hit with the bases loaded. That's how I've got to accept my misery this edition. That's painful, man. That's really, really tough. And I think the even tougher part is they can see the writing on the wall of what is to come. Bryce may not be there for very much longer. Are you really going to get this great Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg combo for how much longer? Is this team going to get better, or is it going to get worse before they get better again? I think that's the tough part because the window was wide open now. This was the year. Not getting it done this year. I think all of a sudden there's that paranoia of what does the future hold for us as Nationals fans?
DC, the new Cleveland, as far as suffering for a sport.